Hello everybody, 4-Star here, and we are back. Long time no see here for the AFL. I was a little bit sick this past month, but I am back to show you guys the ending of this season, and we are going to start off with the Force taking on the Sharks here in Week 17. So already starting the game off at a deficit of 10. Raymond Filio has some work to do, but he throws this one right to Siaha Burley, and Burley will take it all the way down for a 45-yard score. But the Force will try to respond here on this second and short, tossing this one to Carter, breaks one tackle, making Gross miss, breaking another tackle, and taking it all the way into the end zone for a 20-yard score. So still down by 10 here. Raymond Filio gets down the field here and gets a 7-yard touchdown pass right to Stevens to cut down on the deficit. So still up by 3. The Force are going to go for it here on 4th down, and Hamill throws a errant pass right to Montgomery for the INT and tackle on 5 more yards for the face mask call. And with that 4th down INT, Filio will try to take advantage here of that turnover, giving it to Montgomery for a score. And now for the first time, the Sharks have taken the lead. So the Sharks will get the ball back here in the second half, and Filio will make light work here as he gives it to Burley for another touchdown to increase the lead. A couple drives later, now the Force are down by 10. Hamill looking, and he throws it down the middle once again to Montgomery for his second INT of the game. So now with the lead and the turnover, Filio with a clean pocket is going to give this one to Stevens as he brings this inside the 5. And then a couple plays later at the goal line, Raymond Filio would slide into the end zone for a touchdown, and they would hold on to that 2-score lead all the way to the end of the game, winning this one 45-33 against the Force, and now putting them headfirst into the playoffs. So for our second matchup of the day, we have the Toronto Phantoms coming down to Dallas to take on the newly recovered Andy Kelly and the Desperados here for a big divisional matchup. So the Desperados start off the first drive of the game with a fully healed Andy Kelly, and he gets his first touchdown today, connecting to Bryant for a big score. So after both teams trading field goals, the Phantoms will finally get on the board here with a toss play to Stubbs, barely getting in the end zone for a touchdown. After a Desperados touchdown, Hamilton will try to take things into his own hands here as he gets crushed by Hammond, leaving the ball on the ground, and it gets picked up by Eason for a fumble recovery. So after the Toronto turnover, Dallas has an opportunity to increase their lead, and Andy Kelly connecting with Bryant once again for a big first down. A couple plays later, Kelly would give it to Wes Hours for a 1-yard touchdown score.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm the best. Yeah.
So now down by 14 after the turnover, Hamilton will turn the ball over once again, this time getting intercepted by Wheeler. So now the Desperados will yet another opportunity to score here, gives it to Wes Hours here, and he dives into the end zone for seemingly a 19-yard touchdown, but he'll get called back for holding.
Oh, come on, man, what? Come on.
So after the holding call, Toronto will force Dallas into kicking a field goal here, increasing the lead to 17. So Toronto trying to keep their playoff hopes alive here, trying to get back in this game. Hamilton finds a wide open Gore in the end zone for an end zone to end zone touchdown about 45 yards. But the Desperados would respond quickly. Kelly throwing another floater to Bryant for his 3rd touchdown connection today. So after Toronto 3 and out, Andy Kelly gonna go for it here on 4th down, rolling off to the right, has all the time in the pocket, and he finds Smith in the end zone for another touchdown, his 5th of the day. But if you know the Toronto Phantoms, they never say die here. Hamilton dropping back and finding McCullough putting the man in a spin cycle and getting into the end zone for a touchdown. But the Desperados work their way inside the 10 again. Kelly rolling off to the right, tries to throw it to Hammond, but Gore gets the big INT to change this game around.
Get over here. Do you want me to yell at you? Is that what you want? I'm getting tired of it, frankly. Get out of here. Get going. Go.
So now Toronto with a huge opportunity to try to tie this game with less than a minute left. Hammond gets out of the zone, but it doesn't matter for Nash as he gets the touchdown anyway.
Number 7, touchdown.
But still, 30 seconds is a lot here in arena football, and Andy Kelly will show you. He throws another dot to Bryant, putting it inside the 10-yard line.
I can't believe it. Hey, that's the first. What? Oh, you got a promise the truth? Whatever.
Here in the 2nd and goal, the Desperados looking to run down the clock, but Wes Hours had other plans as he runs it all the way into the end zone for a 7-yard score.
Oh yeah, got a dance, got the light foot.
The Phantoms would end up not having enough time to try to get back on the field, and they would lose this one by 7, now almost basically eliminating them from the playoffs. But the Desperados here keeping their playoff hopes alive with a healthy Andy Kelly, getting a win here at home. And now we're going to go to our next game and our final game of week 17. So for our last matchup here in week 17, we have the Dragons traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Soul here. The Dragons are injury ridden here without their main quarterback Aaron Garcia or their main wide receiver Troy Bergeron. Let's see how they handle the Soul. So the Soul starting off the game with the ball here, giving it to Duke Pettijohn as he takes this one 15 yards untouched into the end zone for the first score. Chris Greason and the Dragons respond here as he throws an off-balance throw to a wide-open Cosmo De Matteo for a touchdown. So Jason Gesser taking over for an injured Matt Nagy last episode, going to chuck this one right to Doggett, and he gets some separation, getting a big touchdown for Philadelphia. So after the New York touchdown, Nickerson is here to receive the kickoff. He gets it off the net, and he takes a huge hit there at the 5-yard line, jarring the ball loose and giving New York the ball back. And New York makes quick work of this drive here as Greason tosses this one to McKenzie, and he goes untouched in the end zone for a touchdown. So instead of kicking the field goal here on 4th down, Gesser and Pettijohn going to try to run it here on 4th down, and it will be no good, giving them a turnover on downs before halftime. So the Dragons start off with the ball here in the second half, but Greason gets immediately sacked by Keys. But on this very next play, Greason would shrug off that sack and throw a strike right to Shepard as he goes untouched into the end zone for a touchdown. Philadelphia now getting down the field here at the 17-yard line. Gesser throws a strike right to Aristogui to keep them in the game. But Greason and the Dragons trying to keep their distance here. Greason with the pump fake throws a wide open De Matteo into the end zone for a touchdown. So now the Soul have to respond here. Gesser gonna throw a floater right to Brown, but it's gonna get tipped away for a turnover on downs. Now up by 8 with the turnover on downs. The defense still won't say quit as Evans gets a big sack. Philly's defense would force a field goal here, and Goins would kick it through for 3 as now he makes it an 11-point game. So the Soul get within enemy territory once again here, and Gesser would throw another bullet right to Aristogui for a touchdown. So a bold move this time here by the New York Dragons, up by 4, won't kick it away. They're going to go for it on 4th down, and it's going to get tipped away. So here comes Philly, now in good field position. Gesser would throw a strike, but it gets intercepted with one hand by Givens. Absolutely incredible. So New York making up for their last mistake. Gonna go for a 57-yard attempt here from Goins, and he nukes it, making it a 7-point game. So thanks to the defense, Philadelphia has an opportunity to tie, and they do not mess up the opportunity here as Gesser throws a strike to Brown to tie the game.
Oh yeah, can't stop me, can't stop me. I got a rhythm, yeah baby.
So with the ball here, less than a minute left, Glover's going to try to run down the clock, and he does a great job, but there's going to be a call for holding, bringing them back a few yards. So now in the 2nd 18, they're going to pass the ball here, and Greason does the last thing he would want to do in a situation and throws an INT. And so with 9 seconds left, Gesser's going to put them in the field goal range here with a big first down for Doggett. And just like that, the Soul are just a kick away from keeping their playoff hopes alive. The kick is up, and it goes right through the middle. It is good, and they will win this game 44-41 at the buzzer. And now the New York Dragons are going to be in the hot seat here, as they now need a loss from Philadelphia next week against the Desperados, and then they take on the Phantoms next week to see who gets into the playoffs. For the rest of the scores for week 17, Cleveland whoops Iowa's butt 58-26, and Michael Bishop leaves a mark on them with 7 touchdowns and 284 yards on the day. So Adrian McPherson and the San Jose SaberCats survive against the Chicago Rush, putting Chicago in a little predicament. Now they have to beat the Colorado Crush to see if they're going to make it to the playoffs. Meanwhile, San Jose needs another win to possibly squeeze into the playoffs. Matt Durazio doing his MVP thing again. 7 touchdowns for him today, 31 of 52 and 248 yards, en route to a big win against the lowly 4 and 11 Baltimore Brigade, now going 12-3 on the season, and they look like the team to beat in the playoffs. So the Orlando Predators destroyed the New Orleans Voodoo 57-28 here, with Shane Stafford scoring 6 touchdowns and Mark Green having an off night, a weird off night at that. 3 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. And Orlando looking good here going into the playoffs here, 11-4. Let's see what New Orleans can respond when they reach the playoffs as well. Clint Zolazell and Josh Harris have a bout here, but Dolezal edges out with the victory. Los Angeles winning at home 61-54. Tony Locke and John Dutton aren't saying die just yet. A 52-49 win against the Albany Empire puts them in a much needed position, and we're gonna try to see if they can make it to the playoffs or not up next. So taking a look at the divisions here, the Valor are at 12-3. They have clinched home field. They got their 1 seed, but it's still a fight here. The Crush and the Rush face each other off in a Week 18 bout to see who's going to get that wild card spot. Meanwhile, in the American Western, the SaberCats and the Gladiators have to face off against their opponents, and then the Rattlers are still in it as well here to see who takes the divisions, but it looks like it's between the SaberCats and Gladiators for right now. In the National Eastern, it looks like it is pretty much deadlocked here, but a sole loss is needed here to see if one of these teams can make it. Both of these teams, the Desperados and the Dragons, are both injury prone, and they are suffering through a lot of injuries, but they still want to make it to the playoffs. And meanwhile, the Phantoms crawling back after being 4-6 this season. They started out really bad. They have crawled themselves back up, and let's see if they can get a win here in this final week. And then finally, the National Southern, the most competitive of the bunch here. The Predators take the 1 seed in the National Conference, and it looks like the Voodoo has taken the wild card spot. I don't know if there's enough room for either the Sharks or the Force to get in, but they are still going to be fighting here. Who's going to go to 10-6 here? I know a lot of these teams face each other off, so let's take a look at the schedule before we get into the matchups. So of course, our very first matchup here is going to be the Crush and the Rush here. We have seen these two teams take on each other before, but this is basically for the playoffs here. The Rush are coming off a 2-game win streak, and even though it does look pretty much matched up, the Rush do have the edge on offense. So that's going to be a good one here. Then we have the Sharks versus the Predators. 9-6 versus 11-4. The Predators don't really have nothing to play for here. They have the most points per game. They have the best offense in the league. They have the best passing offense in the league. And basically, Shane Stafford can take an off day, or they can beat up on their rivals here in Jacksonville and get them and keep them out of the playoffs. Another 2 big matchups here, the Phantoms and the Dragons, both of them fighting hard, but the injuries have definitely taken a toll on the Dragons. Can they finally get a last-second win here after having a 7-2 start? They have lost 6 straight after losing their main wide receiver and their main quarterback. But the Phantoms, like I said before, have fought their way back, and let's see if they can conquer and get that win to try to make it to the playoffs. And then finally, for big matchups here, we're going to have a 4-way match here. Desperados at the Soul here. Like I said before, you've seen the Eastern Division, man, it is deadlocked, and the Desperados have a chance to upset the Soul here to try to make it to the playoffs at 8-8. And all the Soul have to do is get a win here and walk into the playoffs with a division championship. This is for all the marbles here. So let's take a look at the honorable mention matchups that we're going to be taking a look at. So honorable mention here is the Storm and the Force. The Force definitely need a win here so they can try to make it to the playoffs at 10-6, but they need some help. That's not really a good matchup. We got the SaberCats as well. They're 8-7. They need this win, and they need the Brigade to try to beat the Gladiators, but it is vice versa. Both of these teams are very sucky, and yeah, it's gonna be a matchup for the ages between these two teams, but that's gonna be simmed up. Let's get right into the first matchup, the Crush versus the Rush. So here we are, a matchup here for the division title. The Crush are going to be at home against the Rush here in Denver. And this is going to be a big one. We covered this game a couple episodes ago, and now they are taking each other on once again to see who is going to win the division and clinch that playoff berth. So up 10-7 here in the first quarter. Kaleo trying to add on to the lead here, giving it to Jeremy Frizel, but he gets hit against the wall, and he would lose the football, and Molden would recover the fumble. So here, Graziano trying to take advantage here of the fumble. Going to give it to Marshall here as he takes it within the 5-yard line.
Bring up the noise! Are you serious?
And then a couple plays later, Graziani would find Davis all alone here in the corner for a touchdown, giving Colorado their first lead of the game. So Kaleo and the Rush fight their way back into scoring position here, and he throws a strike right to Frizel to take back the lead. So the Rush will get the ball right before halftime, and Kaleo will throw another strike to Frizel, increasing their lead to 9 after a missed extra point. Vidic would cut down the lead to 3 with this 47-yard field goal attempt. Now deep in their own territory here at the end of the third, Kaleo makes a big mistake, throwing an interception right to Patu, and he would take this one back for 6. Kaleo trying to bounce back after the INT return for a touchdown, tries to throw it to Ingram, but Cheverini steps up in front of it, and that will be Kaleo's second INT of the game. So Colorado's here on a 3rd and long. Graziani tries to throw this one to Davis, but he can't hold on to it, and they will have to kick the field goal. So after the missed field goal attempt, Kaleo is going to go down the field and throw this one deep to Frizel, and he will connect with him for an end zone touchdown.
Oh, how you like me? Shake it, yeah. Oops, I'm sorry.
So Colorado would try to respond in this back and forth game. Graziani going to give it to Davis as he breaks 2 tackles, and there's nothing but green in front of him as he high steps his way into the end zone for a touchdown. So the back and forths continue here as Kaleo finds a wide open Kevin Ingram, and he would take this one 42 yards into the end zone for yet another touchdown. So instead of kicking a seemingly routine field goal to tie the game, they're going to go for it here on 4th down here, and this is for the division, but the wide receiver will get caught up in between the linebackers. That will be the end of the game after the turnover on downs, a questionable call here, but the Rush will end up winning this game 40-34, and a huge win for the Chicago Rush here in Denver to win the division. So here for our second matchup here for Week 18, we have the Orlando Predators taking on the Jacksonville Sharks. And if the Predators win this one, not only will they win the division, but they will have the first seed here in the playoffs. So here, as you can see, the score is tied up 7-7, and Philly goes to Stevens here on a screenplay, and Nix will easily make the tackle for the safety. So after an Orlando field goal, the score is 12-7 here, and Philly under pressure flings the ball at the end of the end zone, and Siaha Burley comes up with it for a score. So now Stafford and the Predators now in scoring distance. Stafford gonna throw it right down the middle to Marshall, takes a lick, but he holds on to it for a score. So down by 8 with a minute left in a half, Philly's gonna give it to Muhammad, and he's gonna have some green in front of him, breaks some tackles, makes a move, and gets it to the end zone for a 20-yard score. Now up by 4 here in the second half, Stafford gonna find Marshall for this big catch and run, taking it into the end zone for a touchdown, now increasing their lead. So here we are on 4th down. Enter Michael Vaughn coming in for an injured Philly as he gets laid out there. Muhammad will get the recovery, but it will be too little too late. Turnover on downs. So the Preds want to take full advantage of the turnover on downs here. Stafford gonna give it to James as he gets knocked into the end zone for another touchdown.
Yes, me! Yes, me!
So after a Jacksonville touchdown, they ended up forcing a field goal out of the Predators, and they will make it a 14-point game. So with Philly back in the game and back in score position, he will toss this one right to Matthews. He makes a move and gets into the end zone to put them within 7. So Orlando's going to go for it here on a risky 4th and short, but Stafford can't find anyone, and it's going to be a turnover on downs. And Philly and the Predators will take full advantage of this turnover as Williams gets into the end zone for a touchdown.
I'm the greatest, I'm the best that's ever been, I'm the best that will be. You know it. That's what I'm talking about.
So just like that, with a minute left, the score is tied up here at 42, but not for long here as Marshall gets a big catch, but he runs into the wall there. Big mistake there. But it doesn't matter. 1st and goal. Stafford right to Marshall once again, and he gets his foot in. It's a touchdown.
Yeah! You know I'm the best. Get out of my house, punk.
So a must-score drive here. 15 seconds left. No timeouts here for Philly. Y'all can't find anyone. Breaks one tackle, but then he would get stripped by Martin on the second one. Muhammad would get the ball, but it would be too little too late. They didn't have any more timeouts to stop the clock, and the Predators would win this one 49-42, and they would clinch the 1 seed here in the National Conference and win their division here in the South. So here we are for our second to last matchup here today. We are here in New York to see the New York Dragons try to win this game with a depleted roster. If they win this game, they would need the Desperados to beat the Soul here. If not, Toronto would get the win, and they would need the Soul to win. So for New York's first drive here, Greason and Shepard would get right to work here with this connection touchdown to take the lead. So with Toronto responding back, Greason is deep in his own territory here, gets pressure, tried to throw it to McKenzie, but Shelton will get the interception, return for a touchdown instead. Greason would shake off this rush though, as he would connect with rising star Cosmo De Matteo for a big touchdown. So after trading field goals, Hamilton and the Phantoms will go for it here on 4th down here in their own territory. It gets tipped away by Jackson, almost gets caught, but it is a turnover on downs. And on the very next play, the momentum would shift entirely here as Greason connects to Shepard once again for another touchdown. So Hamilton and the Phantoms trying to respond after the touchdown. Hamilton will get strip sacked by Reed. McKenzie will pick the ball up for the scoop and score. So now with the momentum completely shifted here, Greason's going to give this one right to Glover, and he's not going to get touched until he crosses that plane for a 20-yard touchdown run. And when it rains, it pours. Reed will get his second sack of the night.
Let's go, buddy. I can't. Let's get out of here, man. Don't kiss the wall. All right.
But later in this drive, Hamilton will pick himself up, dust himself off, and throw this nice dot and double coverage right to Nash to try to get them back in this game. So right after the touchdown, Givens is here to receive this kick return, and guess what he did? Another fumble here in this episode by Givens off the kick return, and it'll be picked up by Law. And Hamilton here trying to make quick work of this turnover here, gonna throw it right down the middle. McKenzie was there, but McCullough gets the grab. So still up by 4. Greason trying to keep the momentum back here, throws a strike right to De Matteo, and he gets the grab for the touchdown. So Toronto still having life here, down by 11. Hamilton drops back, finds McCullough, jukes a man out, and nothing but green in front of him for the score. So Toronto obviously going to go for 2 here to make it a 3-point game. Tries to give it to Stubbs, but he gets knocked out of the stadium. So Greason here trying to break the game open, dropping back, and he finds Shepard with just enough separation here, gets the grab and crosses the plane. And after a Toronto 3 and out, Greason would add insult to injury, finding a wide open McKenzie for another score. And the Dragons keep their playoff hopes alive here with a win against the Toronto Phantoms 66-50, but they do need some help from the Desperados. Our next game coming up, the Desperados taking on the Soul to see who makes it to the playoffs. So here we are, our 7th and final matchup of the day. The Philadelphia Soul take on their rivals in the Dallas Desperados. The Desperados have nothing to play for here, but the Soul do. Can the Dallas Desperados with Andy Kelly play spoilers against a team that do not have their quarterback? Matt Nagy is injured. They got to go with Jason Gesser. Let's get into it. So I know the Desperados have to be happy in the locker room with Andy Kelly back, as he throws a strike there right to Bryant to start off the game. So after a few drives, Philly is down by 11 here, and Gesser won't make it any better here throwing this pick to Hammond. And Andy Kelly and the Desperados will reward Hammond after that interception with a touchdown of his own. So down by 18 with the division on the line, Gesser has to make some moves, and what about this one? Throwing a nice little strike right to Anderson for the touchdown. So now Dallas still up by 8 points here. Andy Kelly gonna try to find Bryant, but Brown steps up right in front of that ball and gets the interception. So now seeing the opportunity to score before halftime, Jason Gesser throws a pick right to Bryant, and now the Desperados retain the ball and the lead. And with 5 seconds left before halftime, Andy Kelly rolling off to the right, throws it to Hammond, and what a dot that was to score another touchdown.
I'm the greatest, I'm the best that's ever been, I'm the best it will be. You know it. That's what I'm talking about.
So the Soul now down by 15 here in the second half. Gesser gets a break here, throws this floater right to Brown. He's wide open for the score. So now bringing Dallas to just a field goal. Gesser gets back out there with a pep in his step, throws a deep ball right to Brown once again for another 45-yard score. So now going for 2 here, the right way to go here, as they would make it a 3-point game, but it almost gets picked off. So the Desperados track right back down the field here. Kelly with a clean pocket finds Steve Smith wide open for a big touchdown. But here comes Gesser and the Soul trying to keep these playoff hopes alive. Floats one to Nickerson this time and gets the catch and a first down. A few plays later here, they're going to give it to the Duke Pettijohn, and he fights his way into the end zone. But Andy Kelly and those Desperados just don't know how to stop here. Another big touchdown there from Steve Smith. So with 40 seconds left, you're down by 12. Gesser trying to give a last gasp here, but Nickerson would fumble the ball, and that would basically end the game here. Wheeler would get the fumble recovery, and the Desperados will add insult to injury here as Wes Ayers gets the final touchdown here in the game. This game would end up as a 66-47 victory for the Desperados, and just like that, the Desperados play spoiler for the Soul. The Soul will not make it to the playoffs, and the New York Dragons will end up winning the division and making it to the final playoff spot. So let's check out the rest of the Week 18 highlights here. We're going to give out some awards, and of course, we're going to see the playoff games coming up next week. All right, and for the Week 18 scores here, Cleveland wraps up their season with a rout against Baltimore. Michael Bishop scores 7 touchdowns en route to clinching in the playoffs. They just need the SaberCats to lose their game to clinch. Let's see if they did that. And so Adrian McPherson and the San Jose SaberCats did not let that happen. They end up with a rout of their own, 57-33 against the lowly Iowa Barnstormers. Adrian McPherson, once again, like I said, 7 touchdowns, and the San Jose SaberCats will clinch their division here in I believe the American Central, and they will have to play against their division rivals, the Cleveland Gladiators, in the next matchup here in the divisional round. In one of the throwaway games, Los Angeles destroys Albany 50-70 as Clint Dolezal scores 9 touchdowns, putting him as the only quarterback this season with over 80 touchdowns. So in a must-win game for Georgia, they end up losing to the Tampa Bay Storm 45-33 at home, nonetheless. Here as Josh Harris scores 6 touchdowns and plays spoiler against the Georgia Force. And unfortunately, the Georgia Force will not be making it to the playoffs, even with a 9-7 record. So Arizona did put up a fight here as they were fighting for their playoff lives. They did have a scenario, I believe they did have a scenario where they could have went in, but Washington dashes that away, and they clinched the best record here in the league at 13-3. They win this one 57-51 at home, and they're gonna have another home game in the next following weeks. Matt DeRazio scores 6 touchdowns, with Kevin Casper getting 4 of those touchdowns as well. And Washington will coast on as the 1 seed here in the National Conference. So taking a look here at the final standings, as you can see, the Valor end up with the best record in the league here at 13-3 with Matt DeRazio and company. They have been phenomenal this season. Right behind them are the SaberCats and Gladiators. The SaberCats, I believe, had more division wins, so they ended up with the 2 seed and winning the division. The Gladiators are the only wild card team here in the divisional at 9-7, and the Rush, who beat the Crush to basically this was a divisional game. This was a divisional championship game. The Rush ended up winning that one. They went 9-7, and right behind them, of course, are the Colorado Crush, who had the opportunity. And yeah, wrapping up this American division, we had the Rattlers, the Kiss at 7-9, the Empire, the Barnstormers at 5-11, and the Brigade all at 4-12. And I think we could say that we got the right guys here for this playoffs. But you can't really say the same with the National Division. Of course, there's 2 division winners and then there's 2 wild card teams. Obviously, it was a very, very tough National Southern between these few teams here. As you can see, 3 of the 5 went in, and then of course 4 of the 5 had over a 500 this season. So it was pretty competitive. But the Predators, they end up with the best record here in the National Division, the National Conference, at 12-4. The Voodoo are here at 10-6, another Southern Division team, and then the Sharks are here at 9-7, another Southern Division team. And the Force, like I said before, must-win game, they lost. They probably would have ended up with the 10-6 over the Sharks, but alas, they couldn't get their win. And then of course the Dragons, who won their division, and they will go 8-8 after a win and a sole loss. But right behind them are the Desperados, who upset the Soul, who are 8-8. The Phantoms are 7-9. The Storm are 5-11, and we're gonna have a pretty good National Divisional round coming up here. But let's take a look at the stats and who we are going to deem MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Iron Man of the Year. So for MVP, I think it's safe to say that Matt D'Orazio deserves this title. 80 touchdowns, 19 INTs, 3,549 yards with a 106 rating. Now, I was really close to giving it to Clinton Dolezal, but I believe just the fact that him and his team have the best record, 13-3, and I know that wins are not a quarterback stat, but you can't deny the greatness and the contributions that he has made to this team, and just shaking up the league with 80 touchdowns is kind of crazy. So I'm gonna give it to him. 58% completion percentage, 221 yards per game, and his longest passing touchdown was 48 yards. He did get sacked 16 times, but yes, that is going to be our MVP, Matt D'Orazio. So for Iron Man of the Year award, it's gonna go to Chad Dukes. Chad Dukes, he had 3 defensive touchdowns. He had 17 rushing touchdowns, and I don't even know how many receiving touchdowns he had. So we're just gonna go right to the Sharks, Sabercats, and we're gonna see. So he had 422 yards, 17 touchdowns on the run, the most yards by a running back this season. Only fumbled the ball 2 times, 34 broken tackles. That's crazy. And his longest run was 45 yards, probably to the house. Chad Dukes, he had two receiving touchdowns as well. 13 receptions, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. So adding up to that total, that's 22 total touchdowns he had. And then you go to his defensive stats here. He had 3 defensive scores. He had 3 fumble recoveries, so he probably fumble recovered all of them into the end zone for a touchdown. He had a sack. He had 4 INTs here, and yes, he definitely is very deserving of Iron Man of the Year award winner. So let's see who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. So for Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to give it to Cornelius Bonner. Cornelius Bonner had an incredible year. 99 tackles, 2 for loss, 2 sacks, but the 10 INTs is what's getting it for me. I think the 10 INTs with the sacks, with the tackles, just puts him at just a whole different level, because just how much he's hard working. He's just getting out there. 3 forced fumbles, 1 recovery as well, and he got a block at some point in this season. I mean, you got to give it to Cornelius Bonner here. He's one of the best defensive players in the league, and he's truly deserving of Defensive Player of the Year. 10 INTs is pretty incredible here for the Arena Football League. So here we are with the divisional matchups here. So here in Arena Football, they start off with the divisional matchup. They do not have a wild card round. They go right to the divisional matchup, just like back in the day in the old NFL. So we're going to do the same thing. The Rush take on the Valor here. So here for the Valor, this should be a good matchup on paper for the Valor. They're 13-3. They have one of the best quarterback and wide receiver duos in the league. And they have a really good defense, especially on the defensive front. But the Chicago Rush definitely have a really good defense. Of course, Cornelius Bonner just won Defensive Player of the Year that we just crowned him with. They have one of the best pass offenses in the league here, and they're still a force to be reckoned with. The 3rd in the league in total offense here, but points per game is going to the Valor. They just know how to score on both sides of the ball, and it's definitely because of that rush defense. Now, I'm not saying that the Chicago Rush don't have the greatest rush game in the world. In their rush offense, they're 13th, so it's really not, but they're not going to be doing anything on the run against this squad here, so it's going to be exciting to see. Then you got the Sharks versus the Predators. This is another divisional matchup between two teams that have been playing extremely well, and one of the best offenses in the league is Shane Stafford and those Orlando Predators. So can the Sharks really stack up against this stacked up offense? We're gonna have to see here. They're on a 4-game win streak right now, so we really gonna have to see what the Sharks can do against the Predators. And then kind of for the pseudo wildcard matchup, another divisional matchup here between the Gladiators and the SaberCats. Both of them are on some really good win streaks here, ended up 9-7 here. But both teams here, Adrian McPherson, you gotta watch out for his running attack, especially him and Chad Dukes together. They're one of the deadliest rushing teams in the league here. And then you gotta watch out for Chad Dukes on the other end of the ball as a linebacker. He's really good at blitzing, and he's really good at with hands, as he also has 3 interceptions. Taking on the Ironman of the Year award winner is going to be really, really tough against this Cleveland Gladiators squad here, but they have one of the best rushing offenses as well here. 2nd in the league in rushing offense as well. So this is really going to be a tough matchup between both of these teams, but we got to see who's going to win this one so they can advance on to the championship game. And then finally, the Voodoo, who have been featured in our series a lot, have just come off a 3-game losing streak here. They are slumped off here. I believe they had a bye week this week, so that should really suffice for them. They went to one of the best teams in the league to one of the middle of the road teams here, as the Predators just put leaps and bounds over them. So yeah, that losing streak is gonna hurt, but this Dragons team, they're scrappy here. They've been going through a lot of injuries. I believe Bergeron is still injured until I don't even believe he can come back, because we go to division, then championship round, then the Arena Bowl. So it's gonna be tough on this team here. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. They're getting Aaron Garcia back, and it's gonna be a tough one. But one of their strong points is defense. They have one of the best pass defenses in the league, and going against Mark Grebe, you're gonna need that here. They have really good hands on the other end of the ball, and they know how to intercept the ball well. But the Voodoo are the Voodoo. They still have one of the best rushing offenses in the league. They still have one of the best total offenses in the league, 5th with 4,000 yards, and one of the best in points per game. They just know how to score here, but we just got to see, as the Voodoo are going to be taking on the Dragons here in New York. All right, guys, so that is the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for sticking with me throughout the entirety of this series and of the regular season. It was a very long one, but I really did enjoy here. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of the AFL here. But I'm ready for the playoffs. I'm excited here. I'm going to try to get this one out as soon as possible. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.